Hello everybody and welcome to our live Q&A tonight with Marietta Paxson and Little Dreamers. I'm super excited to get started. We have a ton of questions to go through, but before we start, I wanted to talk a little bit about my best tricks or tips to not only sleep train, but minimize crying while you're sleep training. I had asked a while ago what blog posts you guys wanted me to write, and this is what you told me. So I'm sharing those today, and then I will be posting the link for that tomorrow. So, real quick, if you will be sleep training, and a lot of the questions today will be talking about sleep training, so you'll want to make sure that if you're jumping on late, you want to make sure you come back and watch this. I don't know why I'm saying this now, because you'll have jumped on late and not seen it. Just go with me. You know. Okay, so my first piece of advice for sleep training, I have it on my phone to make sure I don't forget anything. You want to start at nighttime with whatever sleep training method you're doing. You want to start at nighttime and then continue the next day with naps. You want to do bedtime and nap time at the same time. They'll adjust. It's like a Band-Aid. Like, yeah, it'll be kind of rough at first, but it'll adjust quicker and easier and better than doing just naps or just nighttime. Like, just do it all at the same time. Be consistent. That's part of being consistent. I cannot stress this enough, but getting on an appropriate sleep schedule is going to make a huge impact. So, make sure that they're on the right number of naps, 3, 2, 1, 0 naps. Make sure they're getting sufficient amount of sleep during the day, but also not too much sleep. Make sure that you have an early enough bedtime. Getting on an appropriate schedule can be super important and can minimize crying by a ton. And in my blog post, I'll go over guidelines for what sleep should look like at different ages. Just a quick synopsis. So you'll want to check out that link tomorrow. My other tip is to lay your baby down 15 minutes before you want them to fall asleep. So if bedtime is 7 o'clock, you want to lay them in bed at 6:45. They should be happy when you lay them down. They shouldn't be fussing or crying or any of that. They should be happy. And so by laying them down early, you're allowing them the opportunity to gently soothe to sleep. Now, they might not take it the first time, but it gives them the opportunity instead of, putting them in their bed where they're already upset, they're already screaming, and then expecting them to soothe to sleep can be pretty difficult. Okay, so stay home. No sleeping on the go, especially for the first, 2, 3, 4 days. You really want to be home and have all of the sleeping happen in crib or in their bed so that they don't have any crutches, right? I mean, imagine you're trying to sleep train and then you go to the store, you drive to the store, they fall asleep, they get to sleep while you're driving and in the store and on the way home. They just got an awesome nap and they're totally going to fight going in their crib later to sleep. So stay home and be consistent while they try and get it, if that makes sense. Okay, and then to be consistent. I say this all the time because it's so, so important. You have to be consistent in the plan that you've chosen. You have to be consistent with it. Even when it's hard, you still have to be consistent with it, because otherwise you're just teaching your child that if they cry enough or if they do this or whatever long enough or at this time or whatever it is, whatever the situation is in that moment, we're just teaching them that, yes, I will rock you to sleep still, or whatever it is, right? And so we're just setting up a new limit. That's all we're doing with sleep training, is we're setting up a new limit. Just like I set limits with my kids all the time, where it's like, okay, you guys, this is the new rule. Whatever cup I pull out, that's the cup you get, right? I don't care what color it is. I don't care. You just get this cup. And it doesn't matter how long or hard or much my child is going to cry and moan about that. I'm still just going to give them the cup that we pulled out, because that's the new limit or the new rule that we're having in my home. And so the same thing goes for sleep. Whatever your new rule is, new limit, whatever, be consistent with it, no matter how long your child fights it. Be confident in your choice to sleep train. And then my final tip is to make sure that your room environment is good. That can have a huge impact on child sleep. So darkness, white noise, safe. We want to make sure it's safe, and then a video monitor. That's a good way to be able to check when either you're not checking, if you're doing cry it out, or if it's not time for a time check. You can You can not go in, but still have the opportunity to check on them. Okay, so those are my biggest tips. I will be posting a link to that blog post tomorrow with more information on it, so you'll want to make sure that you check that out. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can in my 30 minutes that I have to do this. If your question does not get answered, you're welcome to submit it again, and I can get to it next week. It'll be at the top of my list. I've combined some of the questions here because they are kind of about the same thing, so hopefully that's helpful. And anything else? I don't think so. Let's jump in and get started. Okay, so our first question is from Kristen Logan. And she says her daughter's 7.5 months old and has been putting herself to sleep and sleeping through the night for a long time. But she just got a helmet and now she won't go to sleep on her own. If she happens to fall asleep, it's only for about 15 minutes. As soon as I take it off, she goes right to sleep and sleeps the whole night. Help. Okay, so a couple of things to keep in mind, Kristen. One is that it's just something different. And so it is going to take her time to get used to the helmet. And there's nothing you can do to like make it better or make it different. She just has to get used to it. But my hope or the light at the end of the tunnel is she can get used to it. It's just going to be rough for a little bit. So the more that you take the helmet away, the longer it's going to take her to adjust. So it's your choice on how fast you want her to adjust. Just knowing that obviously the more she has the helmet, the sooner she can adjust. The other tip that I would give you is that she's essentially wearing a hat at night. And so she could be fairly warm and that can affect her sleep. So make sure that you're watching the temperature, keeping it cool, and then watch what she's dressed in. So don't overdress her because she's going to be warmer with that helmet on. The other thing I would suggest is as much tummy time, active, whatever you can give her during the day will also help with sleep. Okay, so the next one is for Carly Mehmet, sorry, I'm horrible with names, and Cindy Olson. So my answer for both of you is the same, and maybe Catherine Hodges. Okay, we're just going to do Carly and Cindy. I'm going to read both of your questions and kind of talk about it, but just realize it's kind of the same. We're headed in the same direction with these two. So Carly has a 22-month-old daughter. She shares a bedroom. She goes to sleep on her own in her crib, 7 to 8 p.m., but she's waking up around 10:30 yelling for me and wanting milk. I've tried giving her milk and leaving her in her crib to cry it out, but she throws a fit and won't stop until I pick her up. I have let her go as long as 2 hours doing this. She takes a morning nap around 10 to 11 for about an hour and an afternoon nap around 2 to 3 for about an hour to 2 hours. She's waking up at 5:30 for the day when she used to sleep until 7:30. Recently, she has become very clingy and whiny with me. I'm the only one she allows to hold her and put her to sleep. Okay, so I'm going to read that. I'm going to read the next question because, like I said, same things are going on. So I kind of want you to listen to these two different scenarios and maybe it'll help somebody out there who didn't submit a question yet. So Cindy has a 17-month-old. He wakes around 1 to 2 times, sometimes 3 times, but I feel like he really wakes just for me to be a binky. I'm still nursing. Not sure if I need to stop to help him. He usually wakes around 7:30 and then is ready for a nap around 10:30, 11. He sleeps a good hour and a half. Then around 3 or 4, he's usually ready for another nap. Usually only 1 hour. Then is ready for bed around 8. He's a very busy kid, and the only way we have been able to get him to sleep is just by putting him in his bed and letting him fall to sleep on his own. He usually cries when we lay him down, but then has stopped by the time we go out of the room. Yeah, and obviously, he's just crying because he doesn't want to go to sleep, not because, it's just the, no, don't leave me in here, and then he's fine. He falls asleep. Okay, so those two questions, Carly and Cindy. One, Cindy, let me address the nursing thing really quick. Yes, if you continue to nurse him at night, whether, that's for nutritional value or to be his human pacifier, he may continue to wake. So keep that in mind. Second thing, for both of these situations, my advice would be it's time to transition to one nap. They are ready to go to one nap, and the increase in night wakings and the early mornings is probably because of that. So your schedules are going to be a little different for a 22-month-old and a 17-month-old. When I transition to one nap, I like to go till at least 11:30. So keep them, when they wake up in the morning, keep them awake until at least 11:30. Hopefully they take a good, 2 to 3 hour nap, but it might only be an hour, 12:30, right? And that's okay. An hour nap is okay. They'll adjust and it'll get longer. If it is only an hour and they only sleep till, if they only sleep till 12:30, you're going to want to aim for a bedtime to be asleep by 6 o'clock. And then possibly even earlier, a 17-month-old, it might be like 5:30, and that's okay too. What will happen is that one nap during the day will lengthen out, hopefully to 2 hours, hopefully to 3 hours. And you'll also scoot it down. So it starts at 11:30, then you'll go get it to 11:45, 12, 12:30. A great time to lay a child down is somewhere between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. So aim for that. And then compensate with a slightly earlier bedtime because they will need it with only that one nap instead of the 2. Okay, so let's go to Catherine Hodgson. And she has an almost 4-month-old. And she goes to bed around 7 p.m. in her rock and play and wakes up around 12:03 and 6:30 for feedings. I'm nursing and then is up around 8:30 for the morning. I know she should be sleeping longer stretches at night and she will not sleep flat in her crib. I always started out in the crib but won't sleep and then switch her to the rock and play reclined and will fall asleep. Also, nap times are so inconsistent. It's hard when I have to pick up other girls from school. It is hard. Okay, so when she gets to 4 months, what I would suggest doing is sleep training her. What that means is teaching her to fall asleep in her crib completely unassisted, which is what you're asking me. How can I help her do that now? Now, I just need to say that the rock and play isn't safe for sleeping and hasn't been approved by the AAP. You probably know this. Did you guys know sleepers aren't regulated in the U.S.? So, like the rock and play, anything that's like it's not, anyway, so that's why it's not safe, because it's not regulated. That's why the dock and tie is not safe in the U.S., but it's safe in Europe. Isn't that interesting? I just always verbally say AAP guidelines because that is for the U.S. But you're the parent, you get to decide. So she's in the rock and play. I would just wait, Catherine, until she's 4 months, and then I would sleep train her. You can choose whatever approach you would like, right? You can do cried out, you can do a gentle approach, you can do whatever. The key is going to be you have to keep putting her back into the crib. Eventually she will fall asleep. Now, I don't know that you have to do it right now. I'd wait till she's at least 4 months adjusted, so 16 weeks from the due date, and then just be consistent and make sure she is falling asleep in her crib. So this would be a great example of when my sleep training packages would be a great fit. I have 2 different packages. One's I call it the silver sleep training package, and the other one is a gold sleep training package. The silver one is kind of a do-it-yourself with some guidance from me. You get a generalized sleep plan that just includes, general information for anyone, but it's a sleep training plan with all the details that you need to know, all compiled in one place, which doesn't exist out there. And then you get calls from me where we get to talk and go over special situations, questions you have, helping you pick the right training method. So you get that. And then my gold plan, you get a personalized sleep plan. So it has all the information you need to be successful, but it's personalized to you with your, personalized schedule for your child. Any special situations that you have, just everything. We talk about everything. We go into in-depth. We get it all laid out. You get your sleep plan, and then you get 2 weeks of support from me via email, text, and even a phone call if you need it. So it's awesome. I have yet to have a client that didn't love that plan. So super great plan. So keep that in mind, Catherine, if you'd like some help figuring out how to sleep train. Okay, let's go over to Carissa. Carissa Olson, she has a 13-month-old. So Carissa, she says that she generally goes to bed between 7:30 and 9. Lately, she's waking up at least 2 or more times a night, usually around midnight, sometimes 2 or 3. And then she has a hard time settling down and going back to sleep. She struggles to soothe herself, always has. Lately, I end up sleeping with her in the rocking chair. She used to sleep through the night until she hit about 6 months. And the reason that was is because at 6 months, object permanence came into play. And she started remembering when she woke up that, wait a minute, where's mom? Mom's here somewhere. If I cry, mom will come. So that's kind of what disturbed her sleep. As for naps, she's a terrible nap taker too. She usually will go down for one late morning between 10:30, and then sometimes mid to late afternoon for a second one, which she should be on 2 naps, so that's good. Sorry, I was just reading a comment by Jamie. Yeah, it's very interesting. Anyways, so many moms use rock and plays to sleep, and I'm not going to judge any mom that's doing that. I think you have to decide what's best for your family, but just to be safe, I always tell what the AAP recommends. So many of you know, like, co-sleeping isn't safe by the AAP standards, and a lot of moms do that, and so I always direct them to sites that talk about safe co-sleeping so that they can have some resources to do it safely. Anyway, that's a side note. I'll try not to get distracted by comments. Please leave comments. I love comments. I love knowing that people are out there. Like this video if you're finding this helpful. Love it, whatever you do. Okay, so let me finish. So she should be on 2 naps. She will literally only sleep during a nap on her own for like 20 to 30 minutes, and I usually end up holding her so she'll sleep longer and not scream at me because she's so tired. I always try to lay her down first before I end up holding her. Okay, so Carissa, if you were not watching a few minutes ago, turn back and listen to Catherine's answer, because the same thing is happening here. She needs to be sleep trained. We have to teach her how to fall asleep on her own, because what's happening is she is falling asleep with you rocking her, right? And then when she runs into a sleep transition sometime in the middle of the night when you've already placed her down in bed, most of us, we all have sleep transitions, and what happens is we don't actually wake up. We kind of just shift. We like roll over and we go back to sleep because everything fits. But when she gets to that light sleep cycle, things aren't fitting for her because she's saying, wait a minute, where's my mom? And I was being rocked. I want to be rocked again. She's like aware enough to know that things aren't the same, and then she wakes up fully. So, and the same thing is happening for naps, right? So it's like if you had fallen asleep in your bed and in the middle of the night you woke up in the tub. You would not want to sleep there. And you would wake up fully to go move and take yourself to your bed, right? That's what's happening for your daughter, and that's why sleep training is so important, because she has to fall asleep the same way she's going to sleep the rest of the night. So, yes, and it's probably only going to get worse, not better. Okay. And go back and listen to my plans. I have 2 plans that are awesome to help. One of them is $179 and one is $399. $179 is super affordable, and I do payment plans. So let me know if you want more help in figuring out how to implement that for her. Okay, let's go to Jamie Crother. See, I'm awful at names. It's okay, guys. She is a 4-month-old, and she says she goes to bed around 7 p.m. in her rock and play. It doesn't rock on its own. Wait, did I already read this? No. Oh my word, I did. Oh my word, somehow I messed up, and I have questions. Catherine and Jamie's question is the same question, so I need to fix that, and this will not... I'm glad I caught that. So just a second, guys. Let me go see whose question I actually answered, and get the other question, because that's not fair, and I will not count this towards our 30 minutes. That is my mistake. Okay, just a second. I've got to run over to where they submitted these, so just a second. I'm sorry to be boring. Hopefully you guys are okay with this. I just want to be fair, so I want to make sure that I take care of this right now. So, Catherine, let's make sure we answered your question actually. I don't know how that happened. Okay, it looks like we answered Jamie's question. So Jamie, your question is at 10:35. Isn't that great? And we are going to go ahead and answer hope you guys can still see me that live. Okay, great. We're going to go ahead and answer Catherine Hodgson's now, who actually has a 7.5-month-old. See if I can get this video in the right spot so I can see her question. Yeah, she has a 7.5-month-old, so let me go ahead and read this. She said, bedtime is probably a lot later than it should be because he won't sleep on his own, and I don't want to go to bed at 7. You don't want to, oh, okay. You don't want to go to bed, and he won't go to bed without you. So he doesn't really have a bedtime. I'd say anytime between 9 and 11. He doesn't really nap unless I'm holding him. He falls asleep nursing, and then I hold him for a while so I can sleep. So he can sleep. Times vary. He'll also fall asleep if we go for a car ride. Usually I have to nurse him to sleep. But last night he fell asleep on his own. I was lying next to him. Hey, he fell asleep on his own. That's good. I was lying next to him, but it didn't last. Okay, so he didn't quite fall asleep on his own because you were still there. But that's a huge improvement, right? Didn't last because he's still getting used to it. So he wakes up every hour or two and expects to be nursed. I don't think he's hungry. He just likes the comfort. The trouble is he hates his crib, and when we co-sleep, he wakes up way too often. Yeah, and Catherine, this is Catherine, right? Yes, okay. Sorry about that, you guys. Catherine, he will continue to wake until he does learn to fall asleep on his own. So, again, if you have been watching, go back to like minute 10 and watch from there, because I talk about the sleep training that has to happen. The same thing has to happen with him. And you'd be perfect for one of my sleep plans. It's like, sleep training is my favorite part of my job. So, yeah, he's not going to sleep better. He's not going to improve until we get him falling asleep in his crib on his own. So there's different ways that you can do that. Go to my blog too. I have some blogs up. I just went over the 5 tips for sleep training at the beginning of this video, so you guys can go back and watch that. I also have frequently asked questions about sleep training. So what is it? When can we do it? What does it look like? So kind of accuse you in that way, but that's definitely what's going to need to happen that way. Okay, I'm sorry about that confusion and that my questions got copied over. I'm not sure what happened there. So we're going to keep going. Let me go ahead and look at this. Stephanie is wondering how you got 2 of the same questions. Oh, Jamie, you're here. Okay. Yes, sorry. I don't know how I did that. I'm glad that you got your answer. Catherine, hopefully we'll figure that out later. I'm glad I was able to find it. So it's hard for me to make sense of like names that I'm seeing on my paper and then when I see a name here, but I'm catching up, guys. I'm getting there. Okay, so let's come down to Paige Hoffman. She has a 29-month-old, so almost 2.5-old, almost 2.5-year-old. She says, I don't think he's getting enough sleep, but I don't know what to do. He struggles to go to sleep at night, sometimes taking up to 90 minutes from bedtime to fall asleep. He typically goes to bed around 8 p.m. and is usually asleep by 9 and then wakes between 6:30 and 7:30. Most often right around 7:15, which really isn't an awful amount of time, 9 to 7 at 2.5. That's 10 hours at night, which is like the minimum that I'd like to see. I don't like him going to bed so late at 9. I don't like that. Like 8 to 6 is sometimes appropriate at this age. Okay, he naps once in the afternoon, usually from 1 to 3, but that varies slightly. It looks like he's getting not enough sleep. What did I write? I wrote a note. Anyways, I wonder, Paige, for you, how you know that he's not getting enough sleep. Is he grumpy? Like, what are you seeing that he's not getting enough sleep? Because his schedule looks okay, minus that he's going to bed so late. So if you want him to go to bed earlier, this is what I would do. I would make sure that he's awake every day at 7:15. If he's not awake, I'd go in and wake him up so that you start your day at the same time every day. And then I would actually cut your nap maybe like 15 minutes shorter. So instead of sleeping till 3, maybe go 2:45 or even 2:30. And then for bedtime, I'd actually put him to bed earlier, maybe around 7:30. Then plan on him taking extra time to wind down. But hopefully because you're limiting those things, he'll be ready to go to sleep at night and you're allowing extra time for him to fall asleep, right? So, I mean, this just happened with my twins. They are 2.5 this month, and we just went through this like last month. So same thing. I was putting them to bed. Bedtime was 7:30. They were honestly awake until 9. They would wake up in the morning later than normal, and then their nap was like 2 hours. And so what I did was I got more consistent with their wake up time. I cut their nap to 2:30, so that I was waking them up at 2:30, and then I started putting them to bed at 7. I don't plan for them to fall asleep at 7. I don't even plan for them to fall asleep at 7:30. They're going to need some time to wind down because they're getting into those toddler years where they're going to need a little extra time. But by doing this, my hope is that they're asleep sometime between 7:30 and 8, and that's early enough. That's a good time. Okay, so try that page. And Okay, so let's go to Allison Allen. And she has a 1-year-old. And she says, first of all, she says, thanks to your wonderful live Q&A, I think we have a good routine going, which is awesome, Allison. I'm so glad that you've tuned in and you've been able to get some help. He goes to bed at 6:30, 7:30, falls asleep in his crib completely on his own. Awesome. Wakes up between 4 to 6 and puts himself back to sleep after 15 to 30 minutes, and wakes for the day between 7:30 and 8. Naps around 10:30 for an hour, and afternoon nap between 2:30 and 3:30 for an hour. Perfect. He sounds like he's on a great schedule. My question is, we just got this down solidly, and in a couple of weeks we're traveling to Chicago. Of course, because the second you get sleep in order, something totally changes. That's the rule. That's the rule of sleep, you guys. So, not at all surprised. Okay, you guys live in Portland. I'm worried and do not know how to handle the 3-hour time difference. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so Allison, I'm so glad I saw your question before because my mind is awful at like what time zone and how many hours and like whatever. So I like wrote a note for myself because it's hard for me to like think numbers and talk at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense, but okay, so 7 p.m. your time would be 10 p.m. Chicago time. So when you travel that first day, he's going to be pretty tired from traveling. He probably won't take awesome naps, and let's be honest, traveling just wears everyone out. So when you get to Chicago, you might feel like, oh, I have to keep him up until 10 p.m., which is his bedtime. Don't feel like you have to keep him up until 10 p.m. You can put him to bed earlier, right? If I was traveling home or in the same time zone, I'd probably put my child to bed earlier because I'm probably tired all day from traveling. So, whenever he gets tired, whenever you're thinking, oh, okay, now I think it's time or whatever, just, 9:30, 9, whatever, 10, it's fine if you do 10, maybe he slept a lot. And then the next morning he'll let him wake whenever he wakes, and say he normally wakes up, between 7:30 and 8. So say he doesn't wake up until 11 a.m. Wow, can you even imagine? Okay, so he sleeps until 11 a.m., right? It's perfectly fine. Just kind of go do your whatever, have a wonderful day. Maybe you're getting naps, maybe you're compensating, maybe he's getting tar naps or whatever, and then put him to bed a little bit earlier that next night. My bet is that he won't sleep till 11 a.m. He'll probably wake up like sometime between like 8 to 10. And so you will just adjust your whole day if he wakes up earlier, and then put him to bed that next night earlier. Eventually he'll start waking up at his normal time, Chicago time, and you'll put him to bed at his normal time. And then, and if he doesn't, if he ends up staying up a little later and sleeping in a little bit more in Chicago, that's great because you have to return home. So that'll just help you out. Okay, so let's go to Heidi Nilsson, and she says, my 15-month-old takes 1, sometimes 2 naps a day. He can go down in his crib awake and put himself to sleep. He can do the same at nighttime. I have put him down at 7 on the dot for months, but he's waking 5 to 6 hours into the night, sometimes multiple times, crying loudly and wanting a bottle. I've tried doing an earlier and later bedtime, but he's still waking. It's confusing because he doesn't cry when I lay him in his bed, going down for naps and for night, but wakes up sad. Help. Okay, so, Heidi. Oh, I should have put you with the earlier ones too. He needs to probably switch to 1 nap, is what I'm guessing needs to happen. You said sometimes he takes 1 and sometimes he takes 2. I wouldn't do the back and forth. I would just switch him to 1 and do a slightly earlier bedtime and be consistent with it. Like give it 2 weeks of being super consistent and see if that helps him out some. Okay, let's jump down to Miranda Jones. She says, my 7-week-old eats on demand and sleeps whenever he wants. He's never had... Oh, I'm going to pause here and read this comment from Allison. Thank you. Thank you, Allison. I'm sorry I always have to get super close to read the comments. Any advice for putting kids down in a hotel? Oh, I'll be bringing a pack and play, but not sure how he will do with seeing us. I'd put him to sleep in the bathroom if you can. It's not ideal because then you don't have a bathroom, but if you can make do without one, then having his own space so that he can still go to bed early, and then you guys can still be able to do stuff. Otherwise, you're putting him to sleep and you guys are hanging out in the bathroom, which I have totally done, by the way. Yeah, then you're hanging out in the bathroom so he doesn't see you so that he'll fall asleep. So those are pretty much your 2 options, I think. I mean, I guess you could try whatever. You could also try just throwing your schedule out the window, which you've worked so hard to get, and just everybody going to bed at the same time and see how he does. It totally depends on the kid. But hopefully those give you some ideas, and knowing him, you can pick something out. Okay, so now we're going to go to Miranda, so that... Okay, so he eats and sleeps whenever he wants. He's never had his days and nights mixed up, which has been nice. Recently, in the last 2 weeks, he will not sleep during the day. He takes cat naps here and there that last 5 minutes, if I'm lucky, 10 minutes. He sleeps about an hour total during the day. He's clearly exhausted, just won't sleep. I try rocking or feeding in a dark room, and he will fall asleep and wake up the second I lay him down, and if I keep holding him, he wakes up about 5 to 10 minutes later. I'm not sure how to get him to take naps during the day. I feel he has to I feel it has to do with the fact that we're co-sleeping at night, which is also something I'm not sure how to break. Okay, so just keep trying to lay him down for naps. Keep trying. You never know when he's gonna change. They say peak fuckiness. Okay, I did not mean to say that. I meant to say fussiness. Peak fussiness happens around 6 to 8 weeks. And that's probably what's happening right now. So hopefully it'll just get better. But having him lay down on his own and giving him the opportunity to fall asleep is completely fine. We're not sleep training at 7 weeks. We're not allowing him to cry it out and figure it out. But we can see. Miranda, if you don't have my newborn survival sleep guide, go to my website, www.littledreamers.us, scroll down a little bit, or go to the pinned post on my Facebook page. There is a newborn survival guide link. You can click on that and get a free download, and it kind of goes over all this newborn stuff, and it tells you things to try and do and things that are most important, and yeah, and it talks about, the other thing that I would recommend is the biggest reason newborns don't nap well is because they're being kept awake too long. So it talks about wake periods, right? You want to keep them awake like 45 minutes to an hour, so really short. And maybe, getting to sleep early, having the right things will help lengthen out those naps and help them sleep better. Again, keep trying to lay him down on his own to see if he can get better, because otherwise you're kind of in for a rough go until he hits about thanks, Lauren. Until he hits about 4 months when we can sleep train. Okay, so keep me posted on how that goes, but go get the newborn survival guide and check that out. Okay, I'm glad that Lauren's laughing. I am sorry. That was a total. Okay. I got a spam letter. I'd signed up for something and got it, and I had to unsubscribe from it because it said the F word 4 times in this email, and I was like, okay, even if I just don't think you have to swear that much. I think it makes you sound not intelligent. And so I said, I unsubscribed from it, and I was like, well, I'm not going to hire you because I don't want to hear that all the time. Let's just use descriptive words like peak fussiness. I'm not going to say that anymore. We're moving on. We're moving on to Kaylee. Kaylee Windsor. And Kaylee, what time is it? Okay, 32:25. Okay, so Kaylee says, my 2-year-old keeps waking up anywhere from 5 to 6 a.m. It throws off his whole day, and sometimes he'll only nap for an hour instead of his usual 2.5 to 3 hours. When he does nap, while I try to put him to bed early, when he doesn't nap, you try to put him to bed early, but he is still waking up between 5 and 6. It's like a vicious cycle. How do I fix it? I talked about this a little bit earlier, Kaylee, so go back and listen to at 21 minutes and listen to that one too. It will help. His wake time is 8, and he usually naps from 12:45 to 4. His usual bedtime is 8:45. What probably happened, these are my notes. Okay, so what probably happened is he needed slightly less sleep. He probably went to bed late one night and then woke up early the next morning because that's how kids work. It doesn't make any sense. And then probably was way overtired for his nap and took a short nap, and then when you put him to bed early, it didn't quite compensate everything. He still woke up earlier. So what I would do is, he might wake up at 6 a.m. and there's not a ton. 6 to 8 a.m. is a normal wake time, so if he wakes up at 5, you can leave him in his room until 6, but then at 6, go get him and then start your day. 12:45 nap is good. If he doesn't take a nap, or if it's only an hour nap, put him to bed by 6 o'clock. Wait, what time do you put him to bed? You put him to bed late, like 8:45, I think you said. Where are you? There you go, 8:45, which is late for me. I like the latest bedtime to be 8 o'clock, which is why I said 6 o'clock. So you might get away with a 6:30 or 6:45. Yeah. And then, okay, so that's no nap or short nap. Then what I would also do is if he's taking that long nap, 12:45 to 4, he probably needs to be woken up just a little bit earlier. It's probably too much sleep for him. So try cutting that back by 15 minutes, but then move bedtime up by 30 minutes so that he has time to settle down and you don't miss his window to go to sleep. I know it doesn't make any sense. He needs less sleep, but then I'm putting him to bed earlier, but he's also he's more stimulated. They need more time to wind down. Okay, perfect. So let's go to Megan, 3442. And you guys, I realize I highlighted my sleep training packages, any of these things, if you want to work together, you can schedule a 15-minute consult, and we can talk about pricing to work out any of these details. So I'm more than happy to work any of these one-on-one and kind of create a plan for you to solving these issues, and really do an in-depth questionnaire to make sure I'm seeing, everything that's going on, right? What I'm giving you in this free Q&A is my best guess based on the information I have. Hopefully it's right and it works for you. That's what I'm hoping. So this is the best way that I can help the most people. Okay, so Megan Bowen, let's see, 14 months. She says he's always woken up between 5 and 5:45 a.m. Sounds like my one son. He's always been an early riser. Wake time is 6 a.m. I never go in before 6, so he just sits and cries until I get him. Does he really still cry? My son just got used to it, and he knew I wasn't coming in, and he would just entertain himself. Anyways, he just started going down for 1 nap a day. That's good. Transition naturally. Okay, and handling it well. He's young for 1 nap a day at 14 months, but if he's doing well. Okay, he was only napping for an hour in the morning and then skipping his afternoon nap, so we combine the two. Okay, now he naps noon to 2:20. Okay, he wakes up after that mark, and bedtime is 6:45 to 7 p.m. He has a binky. Is he just going to be a morning crier for an hour every day, or is there tweaks to be able to get him to sleep until 6? Okay, so I would aim to have him asleep 4 hours after his nap ends. So if his nap ends at 2:20, I want him asleep at 6:20. He may always be an early morning riser. He may always wake up before 6, but again, waiting till 6 is okay. And hopefully if he gets to bed early enough and we limit daytime sleep, that he will sleep longer. But I would definitely put him to bed earlier than that, because if that wake window is too long between that last nap and bedtime, they just get overtired and they don't sleep as well, and they'll always wake up early. So that's my best guess for you, Megan. I know this has been an ongoing thing, so feel free to contact me if you want to work together on it, so we can really cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's. And early morning wake-ups are one of the hardest ones to deal with. So make these changes and then be consistent for 2 weeks. Super consistent before you do anything else. It's a hard one to change. Okay, so let's go to Jennifer Clement. And guys, I know I talked at the beginning, so we're almost out of time. I don't think we'll be able to get to all questions, so I'll try to answer as many as I can real quick. She is an 8-month-old. We've always rocked him to sleep, but that is getting harder to do because he gets more distracted by his environment. His schedule, 7 a.m., wake up, 9 to 10:30 nap, second nap 1 to 2, third nap 6 to 7. That is so late for a third nap. Last bottle at 8:30, falls asleep at 9:30. I think his schedule I also agree that his schedule needs to be tweaked, Jennifer. He needs to switch to 2 naps. I don't even know what he's doing, but I would sleep train him. And if you don't know what I mean by that, go back to minute 10. I think I start talking about it. I would sleep train him, and then I would adjust his schedule. He needs to go down to 2 naps, and his bedtime needs to be a lot earlier. He doesn't always seem ready for his 1 p.m. nap because it needs to be more let's see, I'm trying to hurry so I can get this. It needs to be more like a 9:30 a.m. nap, and then a 2:30 p.m. nap, and then bedtime about 3 hours after that. So we have to do some adjusting there. And then we have to stop rocking him. He has to learn how to fall asleep on his own. Okay, let's jump to Natalie really quick. I will do Natalie, and I'll do one more, and then I'm going to have to end because we are over time. Okay, Natalie. I'm trying to do it a little bit longer because I know I had some technical difficulties in the middle. And Jennifer, I do see your comment, so if I don't get to it in this video, I will just type it in later. Natalie says, my 2-year-old will wake up in the middle of the night and be awake for 3 to 4 hours at a time. We adjusted his bedtime to earlier, and it still happens. He takes 1 nap, 12 to 2, and bedtime starts between 6 and 6:30. Sounds awful. Sounds absolutely awful. Okay, with the information I have, I would move his nap from 1 to 3 instead, and then I would move bedtime to 7 or 7:30. And be careful, you aren't rewarding him when he does wake up. I would also turn Wi-Fi off at your house, and I would also eliminate any screen time that he has. And with being awake for 3 to 4 hours, I would just eliminate screen time 100% instead of just at least a couple hours before bed, but I would just eliminate it 100%. And I would also watch your sugar intake for him. All of those things can disrupt sleep. So 3 to 4 hours in the middle of the night is a big deal. So I would be kind of extreme about those things until it can even out. Okay, last question here, Megan. We're going to go ahead and answer your question, and then I've got to log off here. She has a 3.5, almost 4-year-old, sleeping 7 to 7, has started waking up around 5 a.m. I've been treating this like a night feed, but it's been harder and harder to get him back to sleep in his crib. We finally get him back to sleep, and he then wakes up in less than an hour, so around 6:30, 6:45. Any tips for getting him back on track? Our goal has been to start the day around 7:30, but we're moving further away from that. So, Megan, a normal wake time is between 6 and 8. So if he's waking up at 6, there's not a ton we can do to lengthen that out. I don't know how many naps he's taking. You tell me that. All naps are inconsistent. Some days he sleeps 45 minutes all day long. Sometimes we randomly get 1.5 to 2 hours, finding it hard to keep to a schedule. Okay, so what I would probably try doing is cut it down. If he's taking like 5 naps a day, I'd probably cut it down to 4. I don't really want him on a 3-nap schedule. He's pretty young for that, but you could do a 4-nap schedule, and then I would make sure he gets to bed earlier, and that could help him sleep in longer. My child, my oldest, as an example, at 2 months started going to sleep at 5 o'clock at night and sleeping until 7 o'clock in the morning. So you would think 5 o'clock would be too early, but that early bedtime can help them sleep in later. You don't need to put your child to bed at 5. I'm not saying do that, but try earlier and see how he does. Okay, you guys, I'm going to have to stop. If you didn't get your questions answered tonight, please, you can go ahead and go on and submit it again so that I can get to it. It'll be first on my list for next week. I wish I could do this like all night long. I just don't have enough time, and I have some other things that I need to devote some time to tonight. So thank you for participating. I'm so glad I get help. Again, if you want more individual one-on-one help, more specific, looking in depth, please contact me, Facebook message me, whatever. We'll get you scheduled for a consult or a free phone call, and we can talk about pricing. A general consultation, which is talking one-on-one and kind of working through this, I charge $120 per hour, but you don't have to purchase the full hour, or you could, and if we don't use it all, you can save some of it. So let me know if you're interested in that. Please share this video, like this video, so that other moms can know that this is a resource out there that we can get some help, and I think we can learn a lot even just from watching this and listening to other people's questions. So let me go ahead and read the comments really quick. Jennifer says, how do you move up a bedtime a day, still get in all the nutrition? I would love to move my 8-month-old to an earlier bedtime, but then we are cutting out 1 bottle. He already gets a bottle every 3 hours and some solids. I don't think he has the stomach. You can just, are you talking about, I'm gonna have to go back and read this. Are you talking about that, Jennifer, is yours the question for cutting that 3rd nap out and how to get him enough bottles? Yeah. I'll have to go back and answer it. I'm going to go, guys. Thank you so much for your questions, for your help. Make sure if you haven't liked my page, make sure you like my Facebook page so that you can get updates for new blog posts that are coming out. Don't forget to check out my one I'm going to be posting tomorrow, my 5 best tips for sleep training and how to minimize crying. Definitely want to check that out. I'll post it tomorrow. Like my page. Let me know if there's anything that looks like new for you. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you all later. How do I end this video? Let me see. My thing's in the way. Okay, thanks. Bye, guys.